I guess tonight's my video making night. I decided that I'm going to show you today some of the not so glorified or not so fun parts of having reptiles. And I mean reptiles in general, snakes, lizards, you name it. Alright, my house is a mess. I've been very busy today and that's why I'm doing that tonight. And the other thing I gotta say is this is in no particular order, okay? Nothing's in any particular order. So, just bear with me, okay? And also, I'm going to cover the camera as I walk so you don't have to see that horrible, shaky rug thing on the camera that might give you motion sickness. So, please excuse the couple of moments of dark camera that you're going to have throughout this video, okay? So, let me show you my mess. Alright, let me show you my mess. Let me turn you around. I don't want you to see anything too bad. Well, the not so fun parts, if my camera will have this problem all night. There we go. One part that's not so fun is it's pretty messy. It can be very messy, especially on, you know, when you're setting up a new cage or cage cleaning mess. I have stuff just laying all over the place. This is like a feeder thing, and then over here I have like bags. This is like a bag of bowls that I just bought. That's the wrapping from it. Over here I just got like bags of plants. I think that's what's in this one too. I got a plant there that just kind of tumbled around and got thrown there. It was cleaned and sanitized. Bowls everywhere. Empty tub cage there. There's the lid. This lid had a whole bunch of cork bark on it earlier stacked up that was drying. So I had that lovely mess. In here you'll see like half of my bathroom counter is like regular stuff, and then the other half is like freaking gauges drying, little containers, reptile containers drying. I usually have dishes here. I get water all over the place. My rug here, by the way, is soaked. I had to put some of my bathroom stuff on the floor. You can see I have a tub here sanitizing with a bunch of decor sanitizing in it. Earlier my bathtub was filled from front end to back end with just pieces and slabs of cork bark just laid out, you know, in rows. And then I had to turn on the shower and rinse them off with the shower and flip them over. And I had my sleeves rolled the whole way up and they were still getting wet, and I had water, you know, dripping down my arm into my, you know, down my sleeve to my armpit. Cold water, mind you. My hair is still damp. Actually, it's still a little damp from all this. I mean, I probably took like 3 showers today and with my clothes on, pretty much, from getting wet. I've mopped, dried up water here all day, and my memory foam thing here is soaked. This is like the 3rd, 4th thing I've sanitized today. Now, this is just a plastic tub with a bunch of plastic stuff in it. So it's kind of big. It's kind of can be awkward shaped even when it's empty, but it's not very heavy. I did a 20-gallon tall aquarium today by myself, and trying not to break it by having it slide in the bathtub while I was dumping out the water. So cleaning is a pain. Cleaning is a pain. I mean, especially if you don't have any extra hands and you got heavy cages. Cleaning cages, sanitizing cages after quarantine, sanitizing equipment, you name it. It's just a pain in the butt. I mean, you get water everywhere, and you get water on you. And I have stuff laying all over the place. Stuff laying all over the place brings me to my next thing I'm going to talk about, and that's storage. Storage. I never have enough storage. I never have enough places to keep all of my equipment and substrate and stuff that I keep on hand. You can see I have some stuff shoved in a corner. Rolls. This is a foam pool noodle, which you can kind of see over here. I use them during quarantine to, you know, they stay up all by themselves, just with natural forces, so they make nice climbing perches. And if the animal's sick, I can just throw them out. Luckily, I was lucky enough to find this Exoterra tank used, being sold on Craigslist, and happened to come with this handy dandy nifty matching stand, which has storage that I desperately needed. Hallelujah! So under here, it's pretty full. This is just all of my like half bags of substrate. I'm sorry, you can't really see this very well. Like all my half bags of substrate, sand, everything's paperclip shut, and if anything spills over, it's a big mess again. This is all my cork bark I was telling you about. That's just the stuff I didn't use, so that's only about half of it. Before I set up tanks today, this whole thing was pretty much nothing but cork bark. In here I have bowls. Oh, if I can get them out. I have bowls, little hides and stuff, just kind of throw it in here. Because again, I needed room. My stand smells funny. Sorry, YouTube, you totally did not need to know that. Oh, again, storage. Take a quick peek. I have an Exoterra shoved into my closet. An unopened Exoterra terrarium shoved in the closet. That's a large wide. That's going to be have a completely custom background and everything custom built by hand by myself for a very spoiled corn snake of mine. But for now, it's shoved in there, and while I'm working on it, it's going to be in the, yeah, it's going to be like right in front of my bed, basically, because I have nowhere else to put it while I'm working on it. Some storage under here, some shelves, some water. I just shove bags completely under the stand because I have nowhere to put them, really. My unopened bags, I mean, they're unopened, I don't have to worry about them spilling. I have stuff shoved under there, random heat lamp. Over here, I just have a box standing up in the corner simply to hold this box of supplies up off the ground where it's much more easily reached. I have substrate all over the floor, all over my stand. So setting up cages, cleaning cages, it's a mess. I mean, just look at all this substrate that I'm going to need to like vacuum up and everything. And this is actually mild. I've made a lot bigger messes in substrate than this, but I have a lot of vacuuming. I still have stuff that's like not just thrown away. Not put away, it's just thrown around yet. Been rearranging and setting up pretty cages all day. So, look at it, there's something else just laying there. Because I know where to put it. I have stuff stored and thrown in another room yet. Next thing, as far as not glorified, is space. Definitely space. This is my reptile wall. This is just one big stand. It's technically two shoved together. I have 3 reptiles there. I have a stand there that I'm working on. I have a cage mover over there. As you just seen, I have a cage in the bedroom. I have one over here. My mist bottle. Again, storage. You can see I have a shelf of stuff thrown in there. This shelf, by the way, wasn't even on this stand. This was just built in. It's just, my grandpa cut me a shelf, and then we nailed in these little just pieces of wood to set it on. I have more cages down there. These are some inverts. And I got these. These are nice. Little trays, pencil trays or whatever, to set some stuff in so I can pull them in and out of there. It helps, but again, I never have enough space. I get like random ferret stuff just laying there because we have nowhere else to put it. Again, cages over here. I I mean, you need a lot of space depending on how many you have and what what it is you're keeping. My shelf, the first one that I showed you that has the shelf on the bottom, I'm actually getting 2 boa files custom fit in there for two of my larger snakes. And I think then the next thing that I'm going to cover is food. So let's step into this other room here. Excuse me, YouTube. You've seen the mess once, you don't need to see it again. Quick other point, I said I had storage in the other room. There it is. I have like cricket food up there. I have all this stuff thrown on this stand. I have like fish stuff just thrown about here because my reptile stuff is taking up all the other room. I think I have stuff in drawers behind me. It's crazy. It's just trying to get a better handle on organization. I think I'm off to a good, I'm doing pretty good so far. Anywho, where was I going with this? Oh, right. Food, feeding. You're going to need a place to keep your food while, you're waiting to feed it to your animal. Unless you intend to only feed your animal, once a week and make weekly trips to pet store to get just what you need that day, you're going to need a place and something to put your feeders in, whatever it is, some place to store your bugs or mice or whatever while you're waiting to feed them to your reptile, because I don't want to make constant trips to the pet store. I actually breed a lot of my own food, which is what you see here. This here is a superworm colony. Kind of, you can see a beetle there. But there's worms. There's actually quite a few worms. Sorry, nobody's asked me for updates on this. There's actually lots of worms. Every single worm in here I have produced myself. I did not buy any of these from the pet store. I bought a starter cup of 25 adult, full-grown, large superworms from PetSmart, and I pupated every single one of them across several weeks because I did them in batches. And yeah, so all my original superworms are beetles. I only have one beetle left. They don't live nearly as long as mealworms. Or sorry, the beetles do, but they're just growing age. I have tons of pupa. I've just been pulling that out just to increase the number of adults that I have surviving, to increase my overall yield. Down here's my mealworms. Quite a few in here. They actually just got all fresh oatmeal and a nice fresh clean everything recently. Again, these guys are just off and booming and doing great. I have aged out that colony, this particular colony. I've bought my startup batch of worms. I bought a couple of minis and a couple of giants actually. And then I added about 50 to 100 later on, just so I had something fresh to keep feeding out without killing the colony. This here is just red wigglers container. You can see I have like an entire stand dedicated to feeders. I have empty containers under there. Tried to get isopods going, didn't work so well. I used to have fruit flies, but then, I mean, I needed to move up to bigger prey, so I still have like fruit fly stuff laying around, such as that. Over here I have some fish tanks and fish stuff because I do have a fish eater. This tank's empty. It's a fry tank. It's just to move babies into as they're born, to raise them completely separate from the parents. It's bigger and healthier than keeping them in a breeder net. I actually have a few feeder guppies in here that haven't died yet. Horrible. Feeder fish are horrible, by the way. They're raised in such cramped conditions and everything. They're usually sick-ish before you get them. They really don't live long. They're just meant to be bred quick and cheaply so that you can get them cheap to feed things. Down here, probably not going to be able to see them at all. But I actually have a trio of green swordtails in here, which is the actual breeding colony I'm trying to work on. The feeder guppies are kind of just in the time being until I have about 2-3 generations of these guys. So we're getting there. Actually, there's a male. My male's right here. Oh, my camera spooked him. So yeah, that's another thing about feeding. If you're not breeding your own feeders, you probably won't need as much room as I did. I mean, this whole fish breeding operation is a big hassle and is taking up more space than anything. I mean, as you can see, this is, because again, I've dedicated, again, I'm breeding these. If you just get mealworms from the pet store, you can just keep them in the refrigerator. They won't breed. They come in a nice little, very compact cup. And they'll last for you like a couple of weeks that way or so. So you don't have to take up as much room as this. It's all preference. Breeding my own food is just a lot cheaper. So that's why I do it. Now obviously that is just the insects. I don't breed live mice. I don't have the room for that obviously because the fish are taking up all that. But even so, that's a big hassle before, you know, between getting a new cage for them and, you know, taking up room for that and then their bedding and their food and just, Once I get to a certain age, they're too darn cute, I couldn't do it anyway. And here are actually some feeder insects too. Waxworms. See, this is what I mean. Idea of like a cup you'd get worms from the pet store in. If you don't keep these guys in the refrigerator, they'll turn into moths. You don't want that, so you've got to keep them in the refrigerator. Earthworms, that's what's in here. I could keep these at room temp, but it really wouldn't be a big deal. They do like cooler temperatures, so just to prove they're really in there. But as you can see, not so glorified is the fact that with feeders is they can take up quite a deal of space. Even if you get them very compact from the pet store like this, you need a place in your refrigerator for certain feeders. That means they're in close proximity to your food. Though telling a guest of yours to go in here and get something is a good gag. Good joke. That's the upside of it. But I keep mine on this little closed door. They don't slide in and out. The door stays a little bit warmer than other parts of the refrigerator, which is nice. And they're completely covered. You don't see them, so it doesn't, you know, freak out guests or my husband as much. Here's the one that creeps most people out, is the dead mice in the freezer. I have 2 different sizes, which is what's going on, basically. But I'm not joking. Dead mice. My camera will work in the freezer. No lie. Now, usually when you buy them, if you buy them in bulk, they come in one giant, like 1 gallon Ziploc baggie, or like twist tied shut in a baggie like these guys did. They're just kind of twist tied shut. I chose to take mine out of their big bag and separate them into sandwich bags or snack size bags into each individual week's feeding. That way I don't have to unthaw all 50 plus of them just for 2 or whatever for that week and then refreeze them and keep doing that, because it's hard on the meat of them, honestly. And it's so much easier, just go in there, grab what I need, and just throw that leak-proof sealed up bag on the counter to dethaw or throw it in water very easily. I also put mine in containers, nice tight sealing containers, which again also kind of separates them from my food. However, again, you go in here for your, oh my god, beef that I told my husband to remind me to put back in here. Good thing I made this video. I mean, you have like your fish and your beef right next to your container of frozen mice. So that's the part that freaks a lot of people out, especially my guests. Keeps house guests away from the ice cream, though, I'll tell you that. Because I literally set the ice cream right on top of these bins. But I actually have room to set 2 more bins, so I can have up to 4 different sizes of feeders in here in this space at a time. Awesome. So, it's another not so glorified part about reptile keeping. You might have food, reptile food, live reptile food or frozen reptile food right next to your food. Or, you know, like my worms that you've seen, my super worms and stuff. Yeah, I've had them get out of their container and be crawling around my room, and I thought I got them all, and 2 weeks later I'm sitting on the floor and here comes a beetle crawling across the floor. I found one in the bathroom on the floor one morning, so that's not cool. Freaked me out, and I'm used to it. So definitely very unglorified, not glorified part of reptile keeping is having feeders loose in your house. It's very time consuming to find them all, and when you think you got them all, they still sneak up on you and scare the crap out of you. So few other things. I think I went over a lot of basics there that I can show you right now as far as messiness and feeders and but this is a very time-consuming hobby. I mean, I have to sanitize, dump and wash out and fill water bowls and food bowls every single week, at least once a week. More if my animals decide that, you know, they want to use their water dish as a toilet, which certain ones, I won't name which ones, like to really do. Or I see now with the pretty cages set up, I'm probably going to have ones, more and more of the substrate kicked into the bowl phenomenon. That's going to cause more cleaning. But it's time consuming just to do that. Every new reptile should be quarantined. So, and then after the quarantine period, even if there wasn't anything wrong found with the animal, I still sanitize everything in that cage and all the equipment in bleach water, which is why there's a tub in my bathroom right now. That's what's going on there. So that's very time consuming. You get soaked, you soak the floor, so on and so forth. You do have cleaning, the feeding schedule. Most of your snakes are only going to be once a week to once every other week, depending on what species you have and how old they are. A very young hatchling, like the one down here in this box, requires a little bit more frequently, though now that I have him on taking some mice, I can get away with once a week, because guppies just don't fill them up anymore. So definitely feeding is very, very time consuming. If you have something, especially multiples, that require humidity, you've seen I have a very big mister over by my one tank. Lots of spraying down cages every single night or every single morning, maybe even twice in a day, depending what you have. Another one of my favorites, one of the things that's driving me nuts right now, picky eaters. Yay, everybody loves an animal that worries you sick half to death because they don't want to eat. This guy is pretty new. This is my newest frog. I've had him about a month and a half, and these crickets in this floating dish of his, by the way, have been in that dish for an entire week. The only thing he has done is successfully scared some of them into jumping so high that they jumped out, and now they're climbing around the cage on his vine and whatnot with him. So now I gotta chase down crickets. That's another thing. If your feeders are loose even in your cage, it's a pain in the butt. It's a bigger pain in the butt if they're loose in your house. And crickets are the worst. I mean, if you don't find them, they chirp. And then they breed, and then you have more crickets in your house. So, good news is, cats and dogs love chasing around crickets, catching them, and eating them. So, they're really nice pest exterminators. a nice little cleanup cruise. But yeah, he hasn't eaten. I actually have to force feed him. I have to restrain him and force his mouth open with a credit card and then slide in wax worms or whatever. And it freaks him out, it freaks me out. It's horrible. I feel like a horrible person, but he hasn't eaten willingly for me the entire time I've had him. And like I said, I've had him about a month and a half. So he's force fed. I've tried everything, by the way. I've tried everything. I even contacted the breeder. This setup is replicating the breeder's setup. The only difference is I'm using foam on the water instead of cork bark, because if he ends up being sick, I don't want to have to throw out expensive cork bark, but I can throw out foam. I've even added this vine, which he seems to enjoy. He never had anything like that at the breeder. But as far as the basic setup, the basic conditions are as completely identical to the way the breeder had raised him since he was a tadpole. So people are pretty well baffled why this guy isn't eating. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. I'm willing to try it. So the vets aren't even sure what's wrong with him. I mean, he's active. The moment these lights go out, he's hopping around and crawling around and banging the dish like all over the place. It's annoying. So he's active. He's just not eating. I'm kind of wondering if he's not blind. So yeah, picky eaters. Another not so glorified part, wires everywhere. You can see I have a wire there. That's only temporary. I have these wires here, like this whole mess of them. This extension cord is actually getting swapped out a little later today because it's not big enough anymore. Like, I need to plug more things in here since this is my reptile wall, so I need to get like an actual, gotta swap out for one of my actual strip extension cord outlet, multi-outlet thingies. It's just a mess of wires. You have heat mats all over the place, heat lamps all over the place, heat bulbs blowing out is really annoying and frustrating, and I've had ones that if you just breathe on them, the bulbs bust. So a lot of trips to the store over bulbs. Part of the reason why I switched to the heat mats now, that and I mean, most of my animals, my reptiles, are nocturnal, so light bothers them, the heat doesn't. Many animals really enjoy the belly heat over basking heat anyway. I do have this here. There's not a bulb in it right now, but this is just it's just a display light. I put a low wattage black light bulb just to kind of watch my critters be crawling around at night, because the dark black light doesn't seem to bother them. Before you say anything, yes, black lights do give off some UV. However, they give off way less UV than an actual reptile UV bulb. They give off less UV radiation than natural sunlight. So it's completely harmless. Most of my tanks do get some filtered sunlight, some natural filtered sunlight every day. So they have a fairly natural photo period. And reptiles that have a natural photo period like that, between that and the fact that some can sense barometric changes, like in air pressure and everything, and air temperature, sometimes that is enough to make a reptile go into hibernation, even without you decreasing the temperature in their cage, or taking away their heat mat, or anything like that. And that can be very stressful, especially if you want to touch your animal during that time, or show it to friends, or do educational shows for kids, take photos or anything like that. They're hibernating, you can't bug them, they